Okay, so in the last video we have seen what is the ingestion spec and what are the dimensions and metrics, things like that. And now we will use that ingestion spec and then try to send some data. Okay, so now I'll go in practical. So this is one of the tool that I have created, which will basically store which will kind of create the real-time data for us. So if I start this one, so what it does is it basically captures your key actions. Let's say click on something, and then you have a geo like a unique ID for your step, and then you have a current UTC time, and then you have your route and things like that. So it basically generates a bunch of log files on where you are clicking, what you are doing, what is the duration that you are spending, things like that. Okay, and what are the navigations that you are doing, and it captures whatever we have discussed, right? Duration, click, idle time, key press, error, key press, copy paste, things like that. And also it will be capturing the titles associated with it, the machine name, the URL, the domain, and start time and end time. So it's basically capturing everything that you do on your local desktop. And I'm doing Mac, so I had to, obviously you have to add some permissions to run this code, right? So yeah, so and once about 15-16 events are getting collected, so basically I'm trying to send my data to my node server. So my node server is running on local 303 port. So what I'm doing is I'm just basically sending this JSON file. So we are creating a JSON file like this. So we have to create a JSON lines. It's basically JSON lines thing. It's not a pure JSON, so it's a JSON lines format. So each line is basically one single a data or one single row in our particular in the Druid aspect, right? Sorry, in database each will go as a single liner. So that's how, yeah, you need to have this kind of structure to ingestion your data into our data, okay, to get it into Druid. So now you have this file, and you are what is happening in my node server. So I am sending this to my node server to store this back into S3. So what is that code look like is just glimpse through the code. I'm not gonna go very deep into the code. Basically this is I'm using S3 multer package, so where it enables me to push the code into the S3 bucket. So this is basically it. So I can, this is a endpoint that I'm hitting here, metric ingest, and then it basically reads as a file, and then I'm first checking whether the object is existing or not in my bucket, and then once the object is existing, here comes the interesting part. Once the object is existing, so you are going to use your overload URL. This is a task overload URL where you will be submitting the task. Ingestion is a task, right? You want to take your JSON, you want to submit as a task to store that particular JSON file into your Druid, right? So yeah, so this is how you're going to, yeah, so this is the URL that you are going to hit with your ingest task JSON. So ingest task JSON is the JSON that the Druid spec JSON that we were talking about, right? What is IO config, where the files it's storing, what type of files it is, things like that. So basically URI is should be dynamically constructed with your JSON file. So whatever file that you are sending, you have to manipulate this URI to have that particular file name. So once you have that file name, so once you have the Druid overloads URL and the ingestion spec, so basically the it will submit the task. So this is a task. So once I think I have completed that batch 15 or 16 clicks or 16 actions on my particular desktop, so it is submitted, it has submitted the task. So it will, this is an ingestion task that it is submitted. And once you go to your you have your this thing open, so you can see the ingestion, the task is kind of submitted here, right? So and once you, if you look at it, what is the status of it, it is running, and then you can see the logs as well. So what is the index type, and is it submitted or not submitted, things like that. So you can see the success here, and then the success also here. So basically what it is doing is it is taking the file and it is storing in my S3 bucket. So this is my S3 bucket. Desktop tasks ingest is S3 bucket, and I'm using uploads as a folder, so where I'm sending my JSON files. So December 23, 2023, 22, 28, right? So it's basically sending the data. So last modified, yeah, I think sometime back, yeah, 36, right? Yeah, 36 is the latest. So this is the latest file that I have got here, so that has come in here. So that's how I'm sending, and then my Druid is basically reading from here, and then it is storing it as a it in the index. So coming back to the index, it is, I'm creating an index, not an index parallel. So you can basically do an index parallel as well. So in my Druid spec, I'm giving index. So I'm basically creating an index here. So I can go and look into that index as well. So how do I do that? I can go to data sources, and I can see 80 segments are created, and then this is my data that I see. So the GUID, username, machine name, process ID, URL, whatever that you are seeing there, right? So all of that is coming in here. So you can query this as a regular database. You can this is wrong query. Yeah, you can basically query it as a regular database. You can do like some of the duration, whatever you want to do, you can just basically do, right? Yeah, it doesn't support some of the things like joins and window functions, and some of the things like that, but yeah, so that's another thing, right? So when you want to choose a database, what kind of database that you want to use. So for a simple tasks like self star and all, like not really, you don't need to, like, this is analytical database, right? So you don't want to normalize your data. You should denormalize your data. You should have like a very big table with all the metrics in it. So one single stamp with all the metrics, and then you try to utilize that to produce your metrics. So if you want to do some other operations, probably you need to use some kind of Spark jobs, to do that kind of processing, and then store it in a different place, right? So but this is kind of real-time use case we are trying to use this. So yeah, so the tasks are getting ingested here, and every half an hour so it gets ingested here, and you can see the tasks description here, and then you can also see the data that is coming in here. So yeah, so it's basically that. So this is how you will see the data, and this is how you can submit a task. So I can just quickly go through this. What is that? Yeah, so yeah, that's it. I think the overload URL is what you need, and then you need this along with your overload URL. You need the JSON, Druid spec JSON, and using that you can send the payload to, like, from what is the file that you want to feed in, and from where you need to feed in, right? So all the information that you need to give it in from the ingestion spec, and then the overload URL. That's pretty much it you need. And then once you do it, once you submit the task, so you should see this task is running, and then it will kind of go from there. So that's pretty much it. How do you ingest the data? It's kind of simpler. You can try it out. You can do it with Postman. You can do it with any other tools which can post the which can basically post the task, and if you have the URL, this is a URL, and then you can use the spec, and you can create a simple JSON file with whatever you have mentioned here, and then post it. Your data is there. Okay, so yeah, so or you can load the data as well. So you can basically load the data from here, and using some JSON file in the same format, so you can load that as well. So it's more of a real-time use case. So that's why I'm trying to explain in a real-time way, like it's coming in, and then it is displaying here, and then the next part will come in. How do we visualize this, right? So I have a good visualizations that I have prepared, and I will kind of go through them in the next video. Thank you guys.